Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudhuiret Nastaprayeshtu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Reading from the 10th canto, chapter 16, text 20 through 22. Correct? I think that's correct. I'll go on. I'll read the translations and then we'll hear the last purport. When the young gopis, whose minds were constantly attached to Krishna, the unlimited Supreme Lord, saw that he was now within the grips of the serpent, they remembered his loving friendship, his smiling glances, and his talks with them. Burning with great sorrow, they saw the entire universe as void. Although the elder gopis were feeling just as much distress as she and were pouring forth a flood of sorrowful tears, they had to forcibly hold back Krishna's mother, whose consciousness was totally absorbed in her son. Standing like corpses, with their eyes fixed upon his face, these gopis each took turns recounting the pastimes of the darling of Braj. Lord Balaram then saw that Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men, who had dedicated their very lives to Krishna, were beginning to enter the serpent's lake. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Balaram fully knew Lord Krishna's actual power, and therefore he restrained them. Purport. Srila Sanatana Goswami explains that Lord Balaram checked some of the cowherd men by speaking to them, others by physically holding them, and still others by casting upon them his potent, smiling glance. Distraught over the situation, they were prepared to give up their lives for Lord Krishna by entering the serpent's lake. Om Ganitimiranasya Gananjanan Chalaka Chakshun Militamina Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastita Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I'm begging the blessings of all the devotees present. This wonderful assembly of sages that bless me that I can speak something that is, it's going to be purifying, I know that, but is uplifting and beneficial to all those that are here. Hari Om Tat Sat. The pastime that we're in is such a special pastime, but it's also a very special day today, and it is Advaita Acharya's appearance day, 589th anniversary of his appearance, and just the name conjures up the idea of deep prayer and brings me back to the temple room where I can see Adi Prabhu sitting. Brings me back to that space of New York City, brings me back to that space of the prayers that were chanted by Srila Prabhupada as he was entering this interesting Western world. Pastita Deshatarane, he came here to help deliver these fallen souls in the Western world. And he says something along the lines of, "My dear Lord Krishna, you're so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you've brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me. But I guess you have some business here, otherwise why would you bring me to this terrible place?" And he says something very poignant and more true as my age progresses. Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it. I got a text the other day from Arjuna Prabhu, and it was pretty spicy text. It was just out of nowhere. He sends a lot of Prabhupada pictures, or he sends a lot of katha that he's reading, and he just out of nowhere. Let me check the timing of this. This was so he's in India. So this was on Monday at about 9 o'clock in the morning, a good start to the day. He said something like this. He said, "Chant Haribo, you fool. Get out of ignorance." These were all in little sections. So it was coming in hot. Get out of ignorance. Smash your false ego. Stop thinking you're goddamn handsome. Stop cheating. Stop pretending. Snap out of it. Every breath you take, every step you make, God be watching you. Have faith, reality check. Learn to cry once again, you big corporate monster. And it's not that different. It's just it sounds very similar to what I just read with Srila Prabhupada. Somebody's covered in the modes of ignorance and passion, absorbed in material life, and thinking themselves very happy and satisfied. And it always takes a Vaishnav to remind us that where the happiness is and where this message is. And it always takes an experience. So people always ask me, can you teach me how to meditate? Can you teach me how to meditate? And if they have a little faith in the process, I'll just say, do you remember what it's like to cry? Because meditation's an experience and it's an absorption. And when we really meditate, the tears will flow. I said it to one corporate fellow, maybe the second time that I spoken to him, and he said, teach me how to meditate. I really want to know how to do it. And I said, actually, if you really meditate, or if you really want to get absorbed in something, I said, you'll know you'll have the experience because you'll cry and tears will come and appreciation will flow from that. And I thought I would never talk to him again. And about 3 weeks later, he said, and I gave him the mantra. I just gave him the Hare Krishna mantra. Just chant this thing and see what happens. I don't normally do that, but it just happened. And 3 weeks later, he calls me up and he said, I cried for 15 minutes straight. I said, what happened? He said, I was on the beach and I just started mumbling this mantra. And he said, I had to put sunglasses on because I just started crying. And there's some potency to the name when something like that happens, and there's something sincere inside the person's heart. And so on this special day of Srila Advaitacharya, to remember the prayers that have been chanted on our behalf is so powerful. The 589th anniversary of his appearance, but the prayers for Adi Purush Prabhu, the prayers for William, the prayers for Bhakti Hugo, the prayers for myself that were chanted, that please help. It's so degraded 500 years ago in Shantipur, which is from our perspective, a very pucka, a very high and elevated place of learning and knowledge and Vedic culture and rituals. And his prayers, there's this, unless Krishna comes, we're doomed. Unless Krishna comes and teaches us how to be, we are in trouble. And from that sincere heart comes the reciprocation of the Lord as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then I think about Srila Prabhupada, who comes here with nothing, with completely, a bag of oatmeal and some money that can't even be exchanged, and a box of books, and he's praying for us, really, really praying. And he's the one that's going to give us something, even though everybody else has a place to live, everybody else has wealth, everybody else has prestige, or they have position, or whatever that is. And he's saying, oh my God, they're suffering so badly. I need to help them. And I've got something to give them to make them happy. And so these prayers are just so powerful. And it's a practice of prayer. To fall in that in our lineage is really a practice of prayer, of not just chanting Hare Krishna, but of thinking about karuna. I like this word karuna a lot because I remember reading it in The Journey Within that Radhanath Swami wrote, and he said karuna is directed compassion. And he used the example of the eco village, and he said an attempt at karuna, an attempt at compassion. And I really liked it because he had mentioned that with the resources that you have, you direct your compassion. So he had 30 plus IIT grads, practically engineers, who happened to be monks who he knew could do a project. And so with the resources he had, he said, go out into the wilderness and start an eco village. And so each one of us has some limited resources. Each one of us has some limited abilities. Each one of us has some psychophysical nature and propensities to utilize in karuna and compassion for for all souls. Our spiritual progress is directly connected to how we help others make progress. So that's our progress, is how can I help other people make progress? And my progress is going to happen automatically, but I don't do it because I need to make my progress. I do it because it's what pleases Krishna. It's what pleases the Lord. It's what pleases the Lord's devotees, is that we reach out, we share, we give these beautiful messages. And if we think about it, always hearing everybody's story, you're going to hear the story of that person that first reached out to you. Made no sense. Somehow, some way, somebody gave a book, but not just a book, somebody gave affection. You can't stick around until you get some affection. So who was it that gave affection? Thinking about them, remembering that person, appreciating that person for their kindness, for their compassion. Even if it doesn't make sense, that's what I like. Raghunath Prabhu will say something along the lines of, there's always somebody that gets tagged. Krishna can tag you, can tag any living being to bring you closer to Krishna. And this is what happens. People get tagged and they bring us in to the fold of devotional service, and they give us the highest wealth, devotional service. Adi Purush Prabhu says our rounds, what do we have? We got our rounds, or the holy name, and we've got our devotional service. That's it. That's all we can take with us. That's all we have, is the name and our service. And to appreciate that someone pulled us in and allowed us the ability to serve. Prabhupada very, very humbly, when he was asked, what is our qualification for this ability to, access this Krishna bhakti? And very, very humbly and very, very respectfully, he said, I made your qualification. And how did he make the qualification? Through his sincere desire and his connection and his prayers. And that's how everybody's, part of that in one sense. So if you think about that person that helped you today, it's a wonderful benediction upon them for their kindness and their grace and their compassion upon you as we make our progress here. So the great souls, they feel for us, they cry for us, and they see our actual potential. And that's what we all want. They see the reality behind the things that's actually happening. And in this pastime that we enter into with Kaliya, we see some really inconceivable things happening. We see, the most dramatic, the most dashing, the most incredible display of drama that this world has ever seen, or any world has ever seen, because Kaliya's taking us ourselves there. Kaliya is just absolutely awful. I mean, truly, truly awful and venomous and disgusting and just uh, black bubbling waters with fire coming out of it, and this massive, massive 101 hoods, prominent hoods, but thousands of other hoods starting to come up out of this black, bubbling, venomous water that birds can't even fly over without choking and dying. I see one snake in north central Florida and I freak out. One little, it could be a 5-foot snake. And my heart skips a beat. What to speak of this massive snake, Leah, who's there. And now Krishna's, he's already started the pastime by slapping his arms and diving in there and taking up that venomous water and spitting it at Kalia. What is this water? What is this to Krishna? What is this? You think this is poisonous? The origin of all origins. He's playing. But in order to bring his devotees closer, in order to elicit the affection, the deepest sentiments, he plays the part. He's bit in the chest and he's laying in the coils of this snake. And we hear here the residents of Vrindavan, oh my God, they're losing their life heirs. They're completely absorbed. Talk about meditation. They're completely absorbed. They're starting to recount the stories. And the only way to keep Mother Yashoda without fully losing consciousness is the gopis just keep singing, doing what we do, right? They're in kirtan. The gopis are singing the stories and the pastimes of the Lord. But remember when this happened and he was saved, and remember when this happened and we didn't think he's okay, and remember when this happened, he should be fine. And they're singing the pastimes of the Lord, and they're taking turns, and then one of them would lose consciousness, and then another one would pick up, and then another one would lose consciousness, another one would pick up. They're completely absorbed. And the whole time Balaram is watching this, he's laughing very, very loudly because he wants to also keep everybody awake and aware. It's like this sound of laughter that's happening over the top of this pastime, because he wants to make sure that everybody understands that there's something special going on. And if he's laughing, and they know Balaram knows Krishna, and if he's laughing, then this should be okay, right? It's not going to end the way that we're seeing it right now. And they're all distraught, like completely. And the interesting thing about the purport was it said that they were all ready and prepared to give up their lives for Lord Krishna. And that's a tough thing. That's an amazing thing, actually. There's a firefighter who I have become friends with down here. And these firefighters are very interesting personalities. We were able to go into see the station where he stays. It's amazing. It's an ashram. It's hilarious, actually. I mean, it looks like 2010 Bhakti Center. Just kind of boarded up walls that are rooms or something like that, and they stay there overnight, and they work, I guess it's 3-4 nights a week, and they do these 24-hour shifts, and they're all prepared to go into a fire, and they're all prepared to leave this world. And it's just a very interesting type of personality that really has that. And when I was hanging out with them, I was trying to see, is this genuine? Is this real? Is this just how somebody's made up? Or is this something that are they seeking the attention? Are they seeking to be known for their valiant efforts, for their, how does that play out? And what I found was that a person like that And a lot of them actually are like third generation, fourth generation firemen. And a lot of those people, it's just born into them. It's just the idea of sacrifice is so deeply entrenched in their heart that, yeah, of course, this is what we have to do. This is what we have to do to save another person. And I found that very, very inspiring. And of course, I'm not going to run into a fire to save anybody, but that level of intensity is inspiring to me to pray and to what resource that I have, the karuna, right? What resource that I have, maybe my prayers uh, for every living entity at night. We always do puja at the house, and we do like a kirtan, and it's just Sham, little Jai, and myself. And at the end of it, every person that I've seen during the day, we try to pray for, and every person that Sham has interacted with, we try to pray for, because it's special. It's a rare thing. You come into the contact with these souls. I'm seeing Bhakti Hugo tonight. There'll be a prayer for Bhakti Hugo. May he be situated in his Krishna consciousness. May he be at ease in his mind and his heart, and stay connected to this wonderful parampara, because that's the way the Lord thinks. Like, what is the heart of God? He's always thinking about his lost sons and daughters. And so they're ready to give up their lives by entering this lake. And it's a call for us to be willing to give our hearts over, and to be prepared to do, and to act, and to pray, and to in the way that we can serve, in the way that we're entrusted to serve the Lord. So all of you Bridge Basis there in New York right now, my heartfelt respects to each and every one of you for serving and answering the call. Some of my favorite writing is Prabhupada's diaries when he came to New York, and just the utter transcendental desperation that he was asking for, to have a place like the Bhakti Center, to have a place that really showed what is Krishna consciousness, that had culture to it. And every one of you that's there is answering that call. You're an answer to Srila Prabhupada's prayers. And that's such a beautiful thing, and to go forward with. The last thing I'll say is that this pastime gets very, very interesting because the wives of Kaliya start to see and beyond the situation. And this is going to get, it's a very wonderful thing, because it's like Advaita Acharya's seeing beyond the time and the space as he's praying for all living beings. It's like the sages of Naimisharanya were seeing beyond time and space to see what is the reality that's going on here. Srila Prabhupada was seeing beyond time and space to help us. And these Nagapatnis, they're also seeing beyond the externals, and Krishna gets very pleased when we see beyond the externals. And you'll see he becomes very pleased with the Nagapatnis, because they were not seeing just the externals of the wrongs that this Kaliya had done. They were seeing the mercy that the Lord was giving to him by touching him with his feet, and by humbling him. And so to close, the idea of seeing beyond the externals is really important in this pastime. It's really important on this very special day, and it's going to be important for us today as we move into our day to see beyond the externals and try to see that hand of Krishna, or the foot of Krishna, if you're becoming humbled today, the foot of Krishna stepping on our head, and the reality of what's taking place. Us jivas, eternal spiritual souls, us jivas in a temporary situation, truly longing to reconnect to our our source and to serve our source with love and devotion. That's what's happening always. But we pray for the ability to be able to see that throughout the course of our day. So I'll end there. We'll open it up for discussion. Hari Om Tat Sat.
Thank you, Jai Giridhari, for a great class. I personally appreciated the point that you made about this feeling of transcendental desperation, like that Srila Prabhupada was experiencing. And I was thinking, if everything is all right, if everything is going according to our plan, then it may mean that we're not doing enough. Or when we're experiencing this transcendental desperation, it means that, we have taken up some project for Krishna, some risks. So it's a good feeling. Yeah, that's
a nice sentiment. And even even if it's going, let's say it is going right? Like there's more resources or there's more facility, whatever it is. It's that underlying karuna, right? That underlying feeling of, well, okay, so if I have more resources, then let me serve more, or let me engage this more and more and more. Because like we were saying, like, let's see beyond the surface of this. You know what I mean? Let me see beyond the surface of what's really going on. If things are going your way, then that means things should be going everybody's way. Or at least those, as Arjuna likes to say, charity begins at home. At least those close to us or that we can influence, it should be going their way as well. We should be distributing that.
Yeah. Okay, Andrea has her hand up. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Jai Giridhari Das Prabhu, for the class, and you speaking of remembering that when we had that initial contact with the holy names, that the tears would come. I really appreciate you sharing that, because it reminded me that, yes, that's how it was. Like, I remember when I first heard the devotees when I was living in New York City, and I would be in the subway and I would hear the kirtan, and I would find myself getting emotional. And obviously that's not something you want to do in the subway. You're in like survival mode, right? You can't be showing any emotion. And I remember having to like keep myself from doing that. And then when I finally went to 26 Second Avenue for the Gita classes that they give there every Saturday, and when I was able to finally be in a kind of safe space to experience the kirtan with like my heart, I remember those first few months, I guess it was before I became, too conditioned, every single kirtan, I was smiling and smiling and crying at the same time. And I remember it was so strange that one time one of the speakers came, I think he might have been Romapad Swami Maharaj. And I remember him noting, like, you have a very unique way to experience the kirtan. And I was like, I hope I continue experiencing like this for the rest of my life. Obviously, it's not the case, and it's me, it's my conditioning. But I think what you shared really reminds me that if I can get myself back to that space of being open to the holy names with an open heart, with, as you said, with a humble space of just ready to receive the holy names and remembering that they are the Lord and they are Radha and Krishna there, then I can just hope to get a taste of that again. And I understand, and I've asked this before, like, why does that happen in the beginning and then it goes away and then we don't have it? And people have answered many different ways, and I'm wondering for your feedback, like, why is that? Thank you.
Yeah, that's the best feeling, isn't it? It's just the best. The heart just melts. Oh, and then you get filled to capacity, and your tears are when it's overflowing, the tears come out. It's just so beautiful. I mean, there's so many reasons why this happens and not. It's more about just becoming desirous of like you said, chasing that experience. And what is that experience? Is giving your love to Krishna. So, just get more and more excited about pleasing Krishna. Krishna's heart is so pleased when when Andrea is loving and sings his name so beautiful, tears have to flow because he's so pleased.
Andrea, tears have to flow. And we hope you're taking notes. I once heard Vishwambar Prabhu sharing on Wisdom of the Sages, I think, or Namras's podcast, I can't remember. And he was saying that I've been doing kirtan throughout my whole life. I was born into kirtan. I've been doing kirtan for so long. And sometimes I sense that I don't have this intense experience anymore. And then he says, but when I share it with others, especially with brand new people, I get to experience what they are experiencing coming to kirtan for the first time. Mm. And I was thinking, yeah, and when you share it with others, you get the taste that they're getting. Mm. So maybe the key is, or one way to bring that feeling back is to give it to others, like brand new people, other Andreas. If you see a woman.
To interrupt, but I think you're totally right, because now that I remember it, I lead a Spanish group and my mom's in it and some other women that are new to Bhakti. And we always start with repeating the Maha Mantra 3 times, just speaking it, not even singing it, because, I don't want to put people through that misery. But when I do it with them, I do feel that emotion. And thank you.
Yeah. And you should do something in the subway, Andrea, because that's where devotees found you.
I'm in Florida, remember?
Okay. Krishna will arrange subway in Florida. Yeah, Krishna. Bhima Prabhu, you had your paw up.
His hoof. He had his hoof up.
Hare Krishna, Giridhari. What a wonderful class. I just had a question. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yes. I just had a question. You handsome corporate monster, you mean you would not run into a burning building to save someone? Are you serious?
In comparison to those that I met that have that in them, I don't know if I could. I don't know if that's my nature, but I will pray for everyone. I will try to save someone in a different way.
Well, needless to say, when you give a class, when you speak, you are saving people from a burning building, which is this life, which is this material life. We're on fire, so to speak, in the wrong way. And at least for me personally, I have found that and I hate to say this, and I hate to remind Krishna, I'm hoping Krishna will forget, but the most sincere chanting I ever do is when I'm in big trouble. And when stuff is definitely not going my way. In fact, not only not going my way, but coming against me. So, and that's when you do realize that all you have is the name that you can depend on. And that's a tough one, because, you're just chanting Krishna's name. Is that all I have to do? Do I have to, can I take this name? Can I wrap it around myself like a wool coat in the winter? Will it protect me? Will it keep me? Will it give me shelter? And, and that's that whole, I can't remember the verse. I'm sure you can. No matter what you face, happiness and distress, you're not bothered by either. And that because the holy name is there, we see that constantly in Krishna's pastimes with Kaliya, that they are constantly surrounding Krishna. They're staring at Krishna to save the day. And, whether they are crying, fainting, or calling out, they are thinking about Krishna. And then in the end, Krishna makes everything all right. So if we think as devotees that we're not going to have Kaliyas in our lifetime, that our life is not going to, that we are not going to have to face these things, then Krishna has something else coming for us. Think about all the times Krishna brought some very serious very serious demons down on this village that are already in love with him, and yet here come the demons. So we have to realize that this will come, and then if we learn to run to Krishna's name like a child crying, it's not always ecstatic crying, it's so wonderful, it's more like, help me, save me, save me, save me. And these are internal troubles as well as external troubles, or the both of them. But once again, thank you very much for the class. I dig your and you are handsome. I don't know anything about the corporate monster part, but Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Adipusha Prabhu, what's that verse? Change of season, one is not bothered by it.
From the
But
Gita?
distress, yeah, what's that verse?
Happiness, distress, hot and cold.
Matra sparsas to countina.
Yeah.
A non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress, like the appearance of the winter and summer seasons. One must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. And what's not disturbed is our service. And Srila Prabhupada is very kindly keeping us on the edge. If we get a little comfortable, we get a little laid back, and we stop pushing, then the intense feeling becomes dull. But when we're giving everything we've got, and when we're reaching, Prabhupada said, every year I want you to give more and take less for yourself. I want you to double your service every year. And when you get instructions like that from the spiritual master, it urges you to stretch, just like in the yoga system. You take up yoga posture and you stretch, and then you feel something that somebody might call pain, but the yoga teacher will say, no, this is a wonderful stretching sensation. And then if that starts to go away because you're loosening up into the stretch, you have to go further, in order to maintain that, not painful, but, extending. So our devotional service is like that also. No matter what we're doing, it might be very good, but Prabhupada's urging us to increase it. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when we're not disturbed, it doesn't mean that I'm not disturbed, I'm chill, I'm cool, I'm not doing anything. What's not disturbed is the service. I like that emphasis.
The tendency is to go where we want to go, do what we want to do when we feel like it. And of course, there might be some devotional service there, but you're not going to get those tears. Mm. We were receiving guests last night. And the first thing we always ask them, what's your name? And then where are you from? Which is kind of a normal question. I remember when I first came to the temple of Giridhari, I said, where are you from? And one of the people who came last night, he said, well, I'm from the Netherlands, but I've been living in Germany for the last 6 years. And actually, I grew up in Brooklyn for 10 years. And now I'm coming to New York. So I guess I'm from New York now because I'm going to get an apartment here. And everybody's like that. They have this moving parts of where we're from. And it seems like a normal thing to ask somebody, but where we're really from is the spiritual world. That's where we're really from. And we forget that. We forgot where we're from. And I was watching this film. It was called You Can Never Go Home Again. And there was a guy in the military, and he was coming back after being away for a few years. And the neighborhood had changed, and his family has changed, and his girlfriend had moved on. And somebody else went to college, and they came back. And you can't bet, what we think is our home is not something stable, and that we can actually go back there. It's like smoke. It's like trying to grab smoke. But there is someplace we're from. And there was that book, Be Here Now. Be here. When I was traveling in Kaohsiung, Tainan, Taichung, Taipei, Korea and the Western, Pacific Rim. We're collecting donations for the Bhakti Center. People always ask you that, where are you from? And I would say, well, I could say I'm from New York, but I spent 11 years traveling in this country, and I'm traveling here and traveling there. And where am I really from, And I would say I'm homeless, in the Buddhist tradition, in the Buddhist countries. And when you become a renunciate, if you're entering a religious order, you say, I'm leaving home. I say I'm homeless. And homeless doesn't mean I have no home. It means I'm home anywhere I'm service. And one lady, she was trying to press me about, well, where are you from? Where's your family from? Where are the people you love? And that be here now concept is, I love you. If we can't love the person in front of us, then we don't love anybody. If we're not satisfied where we are, we're never going to be satisfied anywhere, because this is where Krishna's put us, and the present is all we have. Bhaktivinoda's grandfather, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, says, think not of the past that sleeps, nor dream of the future. Live in times that are with thee. So right here, right now, we can be satisfied. We can be extending ourselves. We can be loving to whoever Krishna's put in front of us. And that's what it's like on Sankirtan, approaching 100 people a day. You have to be there for every single person. Krishna puts you in. You can't pretend mechanically say some lines. So it's a wonderful thing. That's our real home. Where do we live? Right here, right now. This is it. It doesn't get any better than this.
Did you drive that woman?
Giridhari.
Did you drive that lady crazy? The pressing lady?
No, she was satisfied to hear that I loved her. Because underneath everything, everybody loves everybody. But we forget that. We forget how to express it. And we forget that point. Oh, this is this person. And then when I get home, that's the person I love. No, if you don't love everybody the way you love the person you say, I love you, then it's not really love. It's something else. It's business or, some kind of material attachment. But love means samasarveshu bhuteshu. Equally, this Prabhupada loved everybody, loves everybody, present, still does. This comment was all over the place. I'm sorry. Go on.
Adi, you're doing what we were saying in the class of seeing beyond the externals and seeing what's really going on. You're just giving us a real practical example. And Bhima Prabhu, you're loving this horse. What is this horse's name?
His name is Agadir. He's from Morocco.
Agadir
Pray
Prabhu.
for him. Pray for
Agadir
him.
Prabhu.
I was going to ask you to pray for him, you and your family.
He's making it. He's making it tonight. Om Shanti 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 for Agadir
Thank
Prabhu.
you. Yeah, he'll never be peaceful.
All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Here's your darshan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jai Giridhari Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, it's darshan time, dear devotees. If you can, please turn on your camera. Let Krishna see you. Let Krishna Daya see you.
Goodness, there's no flute. Where's Krishna's flute? Very funny, Krishna.
Unique darshan, Krishna without his Hare Krishna. Give him back his flute. That's because Amrita Kishori Devi is not there.
Oh, look at that. Now he's smiling.
Can you get closer, Adi? Can you move up?
Shanti Shanti Kayanti Rajanti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Hare Krishna. You want to leave the meeting?
No.
Then you can just.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Adi Krishna Prabhu. Okay. There's a lot of noise in the back. I apologize. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Jayabai Charan, what's up? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, family, cabin life. All right. Would anyone like to reflect? Andrea, look at her big smile. Hare Krishna. Bhima Prabhu. Is that Ekadir holding the camera or Bhima Prabhu? Bhima Prabhu. All right. All right. All right. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Come again tomorrow. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jai Giridhari Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna.